Hey Jessica, last week you brought up us being a ministry, so I thought it would be great to talk about what is a ministry and how are we a ministry.
I think that's a great idea. Actually, I had to Google specifically what does it mean to be a ministry to actually make sure I use the word correctly because I just sometimes use words because I feel like it. So, according to Google, a ministry is the act of serving God and others by sharing the message and love of Jesus Christ. So, that is something that I think is our goal in every single book club is to not just share the message of Jesus Christ, but love each other as he told us to do in the Gospels. And so, yes, we are a ministry and we're a virtual ministry because most of
Yeah.
our members don't live anywhere near each other. But we pour into each other, not just in book clubs, but even outside of book clubs. We have formed
Yes.
friendships outside of like through the book clubs and we meet outside of book clubs if we're close enough. And if we're not, we have each other's phone numbers where we can just text or call and chat and whatnot. And that is what, Jesus wants us to do is to love each other, support each other, be there for each other. And we're doing it with women that we would never have the opportunity to meet had it not been for a virtual book club. Because I don't have the funds to be able to travel to random beautiful little towns in some in some state and even some countries. We have some people outside of the United States. I don't know when I'll ever go to Africa. Right? So it's just getting to know people, pour into them, show them the love of Jesus, and then to feel the love of Jesus back. The amount of people that have poured into me through these book clubs has just been such a blessing. So yes, we are a ministry. It's a virtual ministry where you could do it from your couch when you're sick with the flu. You can still read a book and talk about it and just focus everything on Jesus.
Yeah, it's definitely a flexible ministry. Makes it easy, As book club leaders, we get to pick the time and the day that we run, those book clubs. I will say, starting Wells of Wisdom, it's been like 2.5 years. When I first started it, I wasn't thinking along the lines of a ministry. I really was like, I just looking for a book club. I was reading so much, so many books, both fiction and nonfiction. I'm like, I just want to talk about it with other women, other Christian women. And so as I was trying to find something, just God led me here to be able to create this space, to make it free for people to join. And next thing you know, I'm kind of like, thinking about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is a ministry. It's more than just a book club. It's more than just reading books. It is actually a ministry, and I didn't know what I was doing, but God knew exactly. He had all this planned, and I think He did it for a reason. Like I deal with social anxiety, deal with different anxieties, and I think if I had known, in the beginning what this, could look like, I would have been a lot more anxious. Because running a ministry is a big deal and it's a big commitment. I knew book clubs were a big commitment, but when you add the ministry on top of that, it can start feeling, overwhelming. You're doing this for God. You don't want to disappoint God. And so I'm like, oh, He knew what He was doing by, kind of keeping me blind in the beginning. And then later on, kind of, opening my eyes. I'm like, oh, okay, this is bigger than what I thought. And this isn't just for me. Um, it's, now I'm working for God and trying to help connect women so that, yeah, we can, just be this ministry, this support, that goes, starts with reading and then goes beyond that. And so like you said, it's been a blessing. And it's been fun too. Like it's been a fun ministry to run.
It really
Yeah.
has, because I can't think of any other ministry. If you think about church ministries, in a physical building, you can think of like a
Mhm.
women's ministry, a men's ministry, a children's ministry. They gather around some commonality. And I think a book club ministry is just so unique because, yes, we're all Christian women. We come together, but we are coming together because of a genre of book that we like to read. So there's some people they're never going to join an apologetics book club. That's totally fine. Nonfiction may not be your thing. Like, I do not enjoy biographies. That is not. So if you were to ever have a book club start where it's just biographies of people, I'm not sure I could hang. I'll be honest. So there's certain genres, it's just like, not my thing. But there are other genres that they could jump into and meet like-minded women, not just like-minded in that we love Jesus, but it's like, hey, you love fantasy too? This is great. We could talk about our fantasy books together, and you meet someone on a deeper level in an area of interest that is solely yours. And it's beautiful. And I can think of how many people have joined my different book clubs and they'll join for maybe a round or two and then they're gone. Like life happens, life gets busy. And I still think about them and how like they were such a joy to have for the season that they were in my life. And I pray for them and hope that life is going good and whatnot. And so it's more than just, yeah, you create lasting friendships sometimes, but other times you're really only in someone's life for a season, but that's God's providence. He wants you in their life or them in your life for only a season because he has other plans for them. And so it's just so beautiful watching how God can work and move through book clubs when it's just a couple people in a book club to a full 8 people in a book club. And I think that's something else with the ministry is when you look at like church ministries, they can like a women's ministry, they can get really big in churches. But with our book clubs, they specifically stay small. We try not to have more than 8 people in a book club because we want to form those connections. We want to pour into each other. And it can be a lot more intimate and it allows you to open up more when you get to know the same women over book after book after book. And I know specifically in our mom's book club, how much more open I am with people I've never physically met. And we've been in book club
Yeah.
together now for a year or more. And I feel so comfortable just being able to be like, hey, I'm having these issues and I'm not sure what to do. And then to hear, oh, yeah, my kid's doing the same thing. Praise the Lord. Let's all pray about this together and brainstorm, so you don't feel alone. And it's so
Yeah.
nice to have that connection, especially when it's hard to get out of the house due to a work schedule or your
Mhm.
location. We have some members that live pretty far out in the middle of nowhere. And so for them, it's not so easy to just pop over and talk to a neighbor. So it's nice to have that convenience of the computer and the internet and being able to meet and connect with women, but it can be so personal and such a deeper level that you may not be able to get if you don't have the time and the opportunity to be able to travel. So,
Yeah. And I even look at my, fiction book club and yeah, it's fiction. But there's still so much support and there's still so much friendship and so it's just great. It doesn't have to be, nonfiction. A lot of times, I've had members say, I don't want to be part of nonfiction because I got that at church. I'm part of, another book study at church. I got this. So, sometimes fiction is harder, especially Christian fiction. A lot of times there are book clubs around, but they're secular. Sometimes they're reading books that aren't appropriate, as Christians to read. And so it's great for people to have that option, to do virtual. Like you mentioned last podcast, like one of your book clubs is at 9. When are you going to have a in-person book club at 9 p.m., So for those that like, yeah, they need those evenings, those late evenings, to connect with someone, like this is, a great opportunity to find a time that works. And we're trying to offer different times and options, and so always check the website for new book clubs and new times, and it's always changing. And it's great to be able to offer this to others, and we are blessed in return too. I don't know how many times that I have grown, like you said, just having just one person in one round has, just allowed me to grow. That's just been a blessing to me, even if they don't join the next round. It's great just to get to know all these people and their situation, and to be able to pray for them, and that they also pray for us too. There's something about being virtual. There's something about these people that you don't see every day that I think allows you to be more vulnerable. you know? I think
Oh, yeah.
also, yeah, it's and anyone could just, they don't have to keep going each round, you know? Um, it's every season's different, and I've had members who jump around different book clubs, trying to do something different each time or multiple book clubs, and it's great, connecting with all these lovely women.
It is, and you also mentioned about how there are secular book clubs out there. So, like, and secular virtual book clubs. So, what we're doing is
Well,
not unique or I can't think of the other word. I mean, we are unique in that we focus on Christian books, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
We're not unique in that we're the only ones that have ever hosted a virtual book club. Like, no, we know we're not.
No.
Now, I don't know
Well,
that anybody does it week to week like we do.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna say, especially fiction. But nonfiction, yes, there's been book studies, but for fiction, I don't really come across that weekly fiction type book club. I don't. And every member that has joined has said, I've never seen anything like this. Like this is what I've been looking for. So I will say we are doing something a little different.
Yes, but so to go off of that, we do read clean material, because like I run a classical literature book club, so it's not Christian, and that the authors, may not be Christians, but the literature itself is clean. I'm not going to choose some classical book that's, on the racy side or anything like that. But that's not to guarantee that we're not going to come across a book that is interesting or yeah, probably wouldn't recommend this one to a friend because we have come across a few books where it just it was okay. It didn't do it. There's maybe some questionable content in it. But what's really great is it opens it up for such good discussions on what we don't want in books. What is the book actually trying to tell us instead of like the gospel? Is it trying to promote a different type of thinking or lifestyle? And then that has opened up a lot of opportunities to talk about, yeah, maybe this is something we can discuss, with a neighbor about how they're living, or what's going on with them because we're already having that discussion here in book club, you can kind of get ideas and gather from people and really get that support because you have content right in front of you that you might be dealing with in person with someone else. And so while we do try to have really good books, we don't screen them ahead of time because we want to read along with our members. And so it does create good opportunities to think about what is going on in our world around us and
Yeah.
how can we bolster our faith and support each other when we come across content like this and
Mm.
help each other through that. So even the bad books, they're being used by God to
Yeah.
help us or help someone go through something that they're going
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, and for fiction, it is hard to screen it super well because as a book club leader, I want to read it with my book club members. I don't want to be spoiled. But I will say for nonfiction, we do our best. Like we don't make promises because we're human. We make mistakes. But I go through all the 1 stars and the 2 stars, and I'm trying to really, you know, be careful with what we're putting out there for nonfiction and even some Christian fiction. If I see, that it's not a Christian publisher, but maybe it's recommended somewhere else that it's Christian, I still I'll look through and double check because I've come across a supposed, Christian fiction book, and I'm like, wait, it's not. This author used to be a Christian fiction author, and then she switched over to secular, and so people still assume that it's, fiction, Christian fiction, but it's not. And so I try, but things can still slip. We're human. I'm human, and so we're trying to be careful what we read. But like you said, it's great to read in a group to have that discernment from all members, just not just your own discernment, but you're going off what other people say. Even in the nonfiction, even in a good book, there might be, one little thing that like everything else is great, but this one thing, I don't know. It may be off. It may not be right. It may be, subject to interpretation that maybe everyone doesn't agree. But then you get those, discussions going and those perspectives and you learn so much.
You do. And I also think about how when we come across a book that we disagree, it also opens your eyes to maybe other books that do something similar. And you're catching how maybe you're being deceived in books outside of book club that aren't being screened and you're just reading casually. Because I know that there are some books that people have mentioned stuff in them. I'm like, I did not notice that. And I don't like that. And so that's something that in my brain, I say, I need to look out for stuff like this so that I'm not just glazing over it because what we put into us matters. What we consume, either through media or books or music, that affects your heart. And so I don't want to unintentionally be taking in stuff that is
Yeah.
going to mess with me. And then yeah, so it's just really nice to get those perspectives from other people so you can look out for things in your own personal reading as well. It's a huge blessing to have so many eyes on the same thing and going through the same thing together. And conversely, pointing out things that you totally missed that were amazing things. The amount, because I do a lot of nonfiction books, and the amount of times that I've read the exact same chapter as everybody else, but they mentioned something and my mind is blown all over again. How did I miss something so fantastic as that? And it's all by the grace of God that He brings us together and reveals more of His nature to us. And so we can then pour into each other and encourage each other in the love of Jesus.